Hello. Today's passage is from Matthew chapter 26, the first 5 verses. When Jesus had finished saying all these things, he said to his disciples, "You know that after 2 days the Passover is coming, and the Son of Man will be handed over to be crucified." Then the chief priests and the elders of the people gathered in the palace of the high priest, who was called Caiaphas, and they conspired to arrest Jesus by stealth and kill him. But they said, "Not during the festival, or there may be a riot among the people." Now, reading that, it strikes me how the powerful people in the story, the high priests and the elders, do not want to examine themselves. They don't want to think about what Jesus is saying and see if maybe that can apply to their lives somehow. Instead, they're just clinging to their own power and certainly afraid that the people, the common folk, would rise up and take some of that power away from them because of the influence of Jesus. So I think it can show us that even though we are not all in positions of power like high priests or elders, not necessarily, we can still examine ourselves and see where we cling to maybe just what we're used to, or cling to habits, cling to whatever perceived power we have, and how we can maybe take some of what Jesus says to heart and apply that to our lives and maybe be in a better place rather than conspiring to be rid of whatever influence, positive influence might be moving throughout the world. So, being the start of Lent, we're going to look briefly at a hymn in our hymnal. This is number 321. And this is a hymn we would sing often at the beginning of Lent. It's talking about walking once more the pilgrim way of Lent, to quote the second line. And the text for this hymn is pretty new, relatively, I guess. It was written in the later 20th century. But the music is quite old, and the hymn tune is from the Genevan Psalter, or one of the editions of the Genevan Psalter, and that dates back all the way to the 1500s. Now, over time, hymn tunes change a lot, and sometimes that's because just people have modern tastes and they want the music to be a certain way, or sometimes it's that the older tune was actually a bit complicated. And so the tune needs to be smoothed out so that ordinary people can sing it more easily. So I'm just going to play the first 2 lines for you, or actually first 3 lines of this hymn. I'll have it up on the screen. So I'm first going to just play it as it is in our hymnal. So those were the first 3 lines as the tune is in our hymnal. Now I'm going to play the tune as it was originally way back in the 1500s. Now in the second line, you might have noticed some of the notes were longer, and then in the third line, there was this sort of off-kilter feeling for a little bit at the end. This is the way Renaissance tunes often are. They have this real rhythmic interest in the original version, but then in modern hymnals, it gets straightened out, which I think is kind of boring. So to close, I'm going to play the whole hymn in its original setting as it was in 1556.